Welcome to Midfield SportsCast.
and the 26th episode of the Divided Friendship Podcast. This time it is me, Maddyx, it is Dawson, it is Luke,
Yeah.
and for his long awaited return, the fourth member of the Midfield Sportscast team, we got Quentin.
I'm back.
He's here for today, episode 26.
Good.
We are here to kick off the off season. Not the off season, not to kick off the off season, the preseason of the 2024 25 college football season. Why are we laughing already?
All right.
All right. We're here. We're here for episode 26. Today we're doing our top 10 teams. And then we're bringing back something we did last year. We'll do the random wheel spin. We'll each do random team and predict their record for for next season. All right. Top 10 teams time. Everybody has their teams.
And not only is Quentin also back, we're all back.
We're all back
We
finally.
ain't filmed a podcast in a minute. Last
3,
time
4
we
weeks.
posted a podcast, it's been a minute. And before that, it was like 3 months since the last time we uploaded.
Oh yeah.
But as we are now approaching college football season, and my baseball schedule is, we can blame that on me. My baseball schedule, it was a lot to handle, especially with making podcasts and all that stuff. But now all that's done.
Buddy got injured.
Buddy got injured. On to football season, on to college football season specifically, and we're here, and we're here for the rest of the season for y'all.
And it is time to kick off our top 10. We will go 10, starting at 10, go down to 1. And you know what? Let's have Luke kick us off. He hasn't said much today. Luke, number 10 team, and then we can just go Luke, Quentin, Dawson, me.
Okay. Sounds good.
Here we go, Luke.
All right, starting off at number 10, a team with a lot of talent every year, but just seems to fail to use it correctly, and a team that is overhyped a lot. And this, I really hate to do this, but I just think that I'm buying the Penn State hype. I'm putting Penn State at number 10.
For my number 10, I have Missouri. They have, I don't know a lot about their team. I know a few pieces. Luther Burden's a dog. They got Mookie Cooper, another receiver coming back, and then they got Marcus Carroll. Like I said, I don't know a whole bunch about this team. They have like 4 or 5 quarterbacks in their quarterback room, so we'll see how that plays out. Their defense is solid, but we'll see how they work out with. I got them at 10.
All right, for my number 10 team, I also have Missouri in the top 10, very close to where Quentin has them. But for number 10, I have Utah. They are the favorite to win the Big 12 this year in their first season in. Obviously have Cam Rising coming back, who had that whole situation at the start of the season last year where we thought he was only going to be out for a little bit of time, and then it came in that the injury was a lot more serious than originally anticipated to be. Now, for their production last year, Bryson Barnes, Nate Johnson, they were the quarterbacks mainly whenever Cam Rising was hurt and out for that season. Both of them are transfers now. Bryson Barnes transferred to Utah State, Nate Johnson to Vanderbilt. Jaquindon Jackson was their leading rusher. He also is gone. He moved on to Arkansas. So that should be interesting. They do have a lot of top production talent that they need to kind of replace here early on in the season, but Kyle Whittingham, and he's pretty good, pretty notorious with playing. Whoa, I'm spazzing right now. A little nervous. First podcast back, but he is one of probably my top 15 coaches in all of college football, and he makes a lot out of what kind of talent he has. Utah obviously not known to get the big 5 stars or big 4 stars, but he is good at producing players, and he always just puts out a very solid team.
I like it.
All right. My turn for my number 10. And my number 10, Utah.
we got two Utahs.
So I like to look at teams and who they are going to have on their roster that is projected to start that are transfers and aren't transfers. So Utah has only 2 projected transfer starters. And the rest of the people that are projected to start have been at Utah for multiple years. So that means they are bought in to Utah. They're bought into the culture. And usually that can lead to a pretty decent team if you're bought into your coaching staff and stuff like that. So they're the Big 12 favorite. They're bought into the culture. You got Cam Rising back again, Micah Bernard. Then you have Dorian Singer at wide receiver. USC, he was at USC, and then he was also at Arizona. When he was at Arizona, his sophomore season, he had 66 receptions for 1,105 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's trying to get back to that and be Utah's #1 target. Last year at Arizona, not really what he wanted, and now he is at Utah, looking to go back to his sophomore self. So Utah at my number 10 spot. Luke, number 9.
All right. Number 9 for me, I'm going to go with a high-powered SEC offense. I'm going to go with the Ole Miss Rebels. Last year had a pretty solid season. Started off the season with 73 points. I mean, it was against an FCS school, but still 73 points is 73 points. Got some good wins, lost to Alabama, but had that amazing game against LSU. One of the best games of the season. Got killed by Georgia. Wouldn't make it to the Peach Bowl and won the Peach Bowl. This year the schedule is not crazy difficult, but it's not a cakewalk. You got Furman, Middle Tennessee, and Wake Forest to start. Then you got Georgia Southern, Kentucky, South Carolina, and here's where it starts to get a little bit tougher. You got LSU, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. You got Georgia, Florida, and then you end on Mississippi State. Ole Miss did lose some key pieces, but still a good team with lots of weapons that I'm sure they will find out how to use them properly. And I'm sure that this season is going to be a good season for the Rebels. Yeah, Ole Miss at number 9.
Honestly, I'm surprised he had Ole Miss all the way at 9, but it's respectable. This is where my list started to get a little tough for me. I have Penn State at 9. This team, they pretty much, if you look at it, they have the same team as last year, but they pretty much added more pieces. They're better than last year if you really look at them. They got Drew Aller coming back. They got Katron Allen and Nick Singleton both coming back, 2 great running backs. They added Julian Fleming, who's a dog. They needed a receiver. Their offense is not the greatest, to be honest with you. James Franklin, for some reason, just gets in big games and doesn't know how to coach. We'll see how that plays over this year, but it's been about the same every other year. Their defense looks solid. I don't know a lot about Penn State's defense. Some defenses I don't really look into a lot, but they look pretty solid. I have them at 9. We'll see how they work under James Franklin, but I don't see them much better than this.
All right. Touching on that, Penn State is a team that I thought is very well capable of being inside the top 10, but for me, they just didn't make the cut. I got them around the 11, 12, 13-ish range, but for my number 9 team, I have the Missouri Tigers. Everybody knows they have a lot of returning production on offense, especially in the receiver room. Luther Burden, Theo Weiss, Mookie Cooper all coming back, and of course their starting quarterback, Brady Cook, also returning. Now, one key piece they will be losing on offense, Cody Schrader, who had almost 1,700 rushing yards last year. Think about that. That is a lot of yards to replace. Now, they are bringing in a transfer running back. I believe his name is Marcus Carroll, I'm pretty sure. He's coming in from Georgia State, and he started for them last year, put up 1,300 yards, and I think he's a really good piece, and 13 touchdowns. Really good piece for Missouri's offense, and they will look to replace Cody Schrader. Not an easy thing to do. Great player. Now, defensively, they are losing a lot of pieces, especially Ennis Rakestraw, Chris Abrams-Drain, Darius Robinson. But they do return a couple starters on offense, and that will be huge for them to have, a little bit of production from last year, some leaders come back, and hopefully replicate the season they had last year.
Number 9 for me, we agree again, Missouri.
Okay.
So, for me, I have them at number 9 because they have all 3 starting wide receivers returning. They got Theo Wees, like Dawson said, Mookie Cooper, who for me, I know a little bit more about him. He's a former Ohio State player. Didn't see the field, transferred to Missouri, and now he's trying to make an impact as their wide receiver 3 projected. Luther Burden, obviously everyone knows him, Biletnikoff favorite. Um, like he said, they're replacing Schrader with Georgia State running back Marcus Carroll. 274 carries, 1,350 yards, and 13 touchdowns. They're going to have a tough SEC defense. I mean, yes, they're replacing people, but will they stand? The thing with Missouri is, will their defense stand against the top teams in the SEC? The Alabamas, the Georgias, the Ole Miss, LSU, teams like that. Like, will Missouri be able to hang with them? They're in a tough conference. They gotta be tough. Missouri is at number 9. Luke, who's your number 8?
Okay, well, I'm going to keep the trend going here, and I'm going to pick Missouri. Missouri is going to be my 8th best team in the country. Missouri, again, just like Ole Miss, high-powered offense. Don't expect to see the ball in one person's hands a lot this season. Luther Burden, insanely good wide receiver. I mean, one of the best in college football, if not the best in college football. Pair that with a solid offense. Now, again, defensively, losing some, but I feel like the offense makes up for it in all ways. And I feel like Missouri is destined for a good run this season. Maybe SEC title contention. Missouri 8.
All right, I like it. My number 8, I'm going a little different approach here. I got the LSU Tigers at number 8. It's a little interesting one, considering they did lose their star quarterback, Jaden Daniels. But this team is still very good. They got Garrett Nussmeier. I hate trying to pronounce his name. They got John Emery, really good running back. I don't know, once again, I don't really know a lot of the defenses outside of the Big Ten. I watch a lot of Big Ten football. But looking at the stat sheet, like looking at their team, like they have really good size and depth. They have really good corner room that I'm looking at. They got Jair Brown from Ohio State, and they have really good edge rushers. I think they have a really good roster put together. We'll see how they do. I don't watch LSU a lot, but we'll see. I got them at 8.
All right, my number 8 will be a team coming out of the ACC.
Ooh, really?
I have Florida State here at 8. Now, I know it may not be quite the most popular take for them at number 8. Maybe some people want them down lower, but I'm a little high on Florida State and their veteran leadership, especially at quarterback, with DJ Uyunglele. Last year at Oregon State in a new system, he showed that he still has what Clemson thought they were getting out of high school. He showed that he still has that potential to be a very good player, maybe not as good as originally thought. But he is still a solid player, and I think most people will overlook him this season, and maybe he can go under some people's radars and shock teams, maybe get some upsets going. Not sure very many teams they'll upset, but maybe sneak him into the playoffs. Another part, Roydell Williams, transfer running back from Bama. Very, very good running back. Just a loaded running back room there for the Tide. Didn't allow him to play very much, so he had to go somewhere where he could get the opportunity to play. Golly. Keon Coleman, another big name they will be replacing in the offseason. Braden Fisk and Jared Verse also as well. And if they do that, I think that they will be set for this season.
All right, for my number 8 team, I have Penn State. They always were going to have a good, decent defense. They develop in defensive ends better than a lot of teams in the country. They got Drew Allard back at quarterback, trying to make a name for himself. Last year, kind of disappointed as a 5-star. He did not prove himself. And in the Big Ten, to put up good stats as a quarterback, I'm gonna be honest, it's hard, but like you have levels in the Big 10. You have the top teams like Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. But then you have some really, really bad teams. It is not Oregon now, yeah. You have some really, really bad teams in the Big Ten that you can pat your stats with. And Drew Allard, he didn't really do that. His stats weren't great against any team in the Big Ten. He's got to do better at that. And he's got a new weapon, Julian Fleming, trying to be wide receiver 1 for them from Ohio State. He's a 5-star, number 1 receiver in his class. But the Ohio State receiving room was loaded, and he was getting passed by young people. So he decides to hit the portal, and he ends up at Penn State in his home state. Singleton and Allen, part 3. The juniors are back again, trying to be what they were their freshman year. A little underwhelming last year, but it's whatever. Then they got A.J. Harris from Georgia at cornerback as a transfer. He was former number 2 cornerback by 24/7 Sports in his recruiting class. And now he's at Penn State, former 5-star. He's a sophomore, heading into sophomore year. So that's my number 8 team. Luke, number 7.
I'm going to keep the SEC team trend going here. I'm going to pick LSU. My past Ole Miss, Missouri, and
Well, I also had LSU last time too. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Luke. You're good.
yeah, okay. I'm gonna pick the LSU Tigers. Last year, kind of a disappointing season from LSU. You know, they showed some flashes, but they just, I don't know, it just something about it. It wasn't how we envisioned their season going. Ending the season on the Rely Quest Bowl is something I did not think I would see
Honestly, I
LSU
agree.
going in there
I
and
agree.
almost losing to Wisconsin.
Hey, guess what? That's where I saw LSU going.
um, you got a pretty hard schedule. This is not no easy schedule. You got USC, then you got Nicole's, but then you got South Carolina, UCLA, South Alabama. Then you got Ole Miss, who you almost had last year, but you just couldn't get the job done in, what was it, like double overtime?
I believe so.
It wasn't overtime. It wasn't. Either way, it was a high scoring game and it was really freaking close. Then you got Arkansas, Texas A&M, Alabama, and Florida back to back. Then you got Vanderbilt, and then you end off on Oklahoma. Um, if you can just use the talent you have wisely, you're gonna be fine. Hopefully they don't do what they did last season and disappoint. I don't think they will. I think this is gonna be a season that they actually do what they've been supposed to do.
Well, this one hurt me, but I feel like this is the perfect spot for my boys up north. Number 7, I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines. In the preseason ranks, they are also ranked 7, and I honestly think that is a fair rank for right now. I don't really have to look anything up because I know our whole roster. I watch this every year. Basically, Alex Orji, brand new quarterback. We lost so much. We lost a head coach. We lost everything on offense just about, but I still like this team a lot, and I think we'll be back in the playoffs. We got the best tight end in college football coming back. Samaj Morgan, I think, is going to have a breakout season. Donovan Edwards, great running back. Might be a little bit overrated, but I still love him. The defense, I think the defense is going to be perfectly fine. The only thing I'm worried about is Alex Orji's playing. We have Will Johnson, we got Makari Page, Ernest Hausman. We got all those guys coming back on the defense. Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. I mean, I think we're gonna be. I see us losing maybe 2 games this year, if that. But I see us in the playoffs, and like I said, I hate putting us at 7, but this is where I realistically seeing us ending the season off. But we'll see how it goes. Alex Orgy could beat him. We'll see.
All right. I also have the Michigan Wolverines coming in at number 7, losing a lot of production. A lot. More than, I do believe it is more than any other team in the country. Whole offensive line, all the starters are out. Only have one returning starting receiver from last year. Obviously, losing our quarterback and our running back. We do keep our tight end, though. That is the one piece on offense besides Samaj Morgan that is still there. Defensively, we also will be losing a lot of pieces, but not nearly as much as offense. Some key names coming back that got meaningful snaps last year: Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Josiah Stewart, Ernest Hausman, Derek Moore, Makari Page, Will Johnson, Quentin Johnston, all those guys. And then to add on to that, bringing in linebacker Jashawn Barham out of Maryland. Very good transfer. I do believe he will be a key piece of our defense. Big thing for Michigan is just, can the offense be reliable, and can they step up when they need to?
All right. For me, my number 17, I will agree with both Quentin and Dawson. My number 17 is Michigan. Both of them are Michigan fans. I'm an Ohio State fan, but looks like we agree on this one. For me, I think that the only real big question mark for Michigan is quarterback.
I agree.
Alex Orgy, yes. Does he have hype this year? Yes. But the dude, how many passes has he thrown, Dawson? One.
The only time I've really seen him throw the ball is in spring games.
He has thrown one pass throughout his career, and he's their projected starter as of right now. Obviously, Donovan Edwards is at running back for his first year as the lead back. We have two stud D tackles as with Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. Samaj Morgan in the slot trying to make an impact in his sophomore season. Like Dawson said, transfer Jashawn Barham from Maryland. He was great for Maryland, and now he's going to be for Michigan. Osmond's back, and Will Johnson is trying to be the Jim Thorpe Award winner, looking to be the number 1 DB in the nation. Now, Luke, it is your turn for the number 6 team in the country.
All right, well, you all put Michigan at 7. I'm going to go one up there. I'm going to put Michigan at number 6. I don't like doing this. As much as I love Michigan, I want to put them in number 1 every single time that I make a ranking. But I got to be honest. We're not the best team in the country. We're one of the best teams in the country, but we're not the best. Like Maddyx said, big question mark at the quarterback position. Alex Orgy. Haven't seen him throw the ball yet. He can run. We know he can run. He's got legs. But does he have the arm? That's the question. Obviously, stud defense. I mean, you'll be fine on defense. The only issue on defense, it's not really an issue, but it's more of just a concern. Rod Moore, injured. So, not going to be seeing him.
That hurts. Yeah.
Yep. We did lose a lot of talent to the draft, and we lost pretty much our whole coaching staff. We lost pretty much everything, but we replaced pretty much everything with, and not just like some random person. We got some solid replacements. And Sharon Moore, we've already seen that he's not a bad head coach. I mean, he beat some teams. He beat some good teams.
4-0.
4-0 as the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. So, no.
Most likely. He's gonna get a suspension.
As much as I want to put Michigan at 1, gotta be honest to myself. Michigan, number 6.
I like it. I like it. I like it. At my number 6 is a team that I thought Luke disrespected a little bit. Ole Miss. I got them at 6. I think you uh didn't really look into them enough. I think they're a really great team. I think they're a really good team. Really good team. And I think they're going to upset one of those good SEC teams this year. They're going to be I will see I think you guys will see them in the playoffs come December, January. Jackson Dart's a stud. He is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's a absolute stud. Swagger for sure. I don't really, like I said, another team I don't know too much about, but I yeah, they're all transfers. They're a very young team. If you look at their roster, they're very young. They got some people staying. They got a lot of new names. They have a 6'7", 335 starting D tackle. 6'7", 335. That's insane. And their defense last year, for the most part, did very well. I think they're going to be fine. I know their offense is really good. I think they're going to be explosive. Like I said, I think they have a chance at knocking off one of the big teams this year. So we'll see. Number 6, Ole Miss.
Let me just say something before you move on. For Ole Miss, if they still had Quinshon Judkins, they'd probably be a top 5 team for me. The only thing that's making me put them at 9 is the loss of Quinshon Judkins. You have him back. You have him back. You're one of the best teams in your top 5, maybe top 4, heck, maybe even top 3. Maybe a little high, but you have Quinshon Judkins. You're higher, but without him, yeah.
All right. My number 6 team in the country. I have the Alabama Crimson Tide. Obviously, quarterback Jalen Milroe is back. Justice Haynes, he got some reps last year as a freshman, and he looks to be their starter this year, competing with Jam Miller. They might split some reps, but we will see. Got a very good offensive line. Some transfers. Caden Proctor, technically an Iowa transfer. Tyler Booker was there last year. Parker Brailsford, a transfer from Washington. Jaden Roberts and Elijah Pritchett. Very solid offensive line. And also a good receiving room. Kendrick Law, Jeremy Bernard, and Kobe Prentice, and Ryan Williams, the true freshman, could also look to get some snaps in big-time moments. Very high upside for him. Now, for Alabama, the only concern I have for them is what will Kalen DeBoer bring to the table? New scheme coming in for them. We can see how he will run the offense with Jalen Milroe. We'll see if he just lets him sling it, if he maybe lets him run it more than he allowed Michael Penix to do. He has had a rushing attack quarterback in the past, but he hasn't had one the past couple of seasons. So we will see how he adjusts to the different style of quarterback play and overall how he adjusts to SEC play, especially coming out of the Pac-12 where everything's just offense, offense, offense. Now going into the SEC, so we will see if he can make that necessary adjustment to keep the Crimson Tide on top of the sport.
And my job has been pretty easy today because for the 4th time today, I agree with Dawson. My number 6 team is Alabama. Obviously, a big W in the offseason was bringing back Caden Proctor to start for their offensive line. He went from Iowa, and as a recruit, to Bama as a recruit, to going to Bama, to going to Iowa in the offseason, to now being back in Tuscaloosa. They got Parker Brailsford at center from Washington. They have Milroe back for year 2 as the starter, and they have a lot of returning players that even after Saban left, there's a bunch that are still back, and they're looking to step up and start for year 2. And that's really all I have to go into because Billy already said a little bit. So, 6, Alabama. Luke.
All right, for me, I'm gonna go with the new
Number 5.
Oh, for number 5, yeah. My bad. Number 5, a new addition to the SEC. I'm gonna pick the Texas Longhorns as my number 5 team in the country. Quinn Ewers, again, top quarterback in the country. You got some solid receivers coming in. I don't think moving over from the Big 12 to the SEC will make too much of a difference on them because I mean, it's not like a big difference in terms of conditions and weathers and stuff like that. Like how USC or UCLA moving to the Big Ten is a big difference. But I don't think they've got some tough teams they've got to play because now that they're going to be in the SEC, it's going to be a little bit of a harder schedule.
Yep.
But I think that they'll be able to come out of it just fine. I think that the SEC will be a challenge for them, but they'll get over it. Yeah, Texas, number 5.
You'll find another life to live. All right. Anyways, number 5, I got Roll Tide. Dawson and Maddyx had them at 6, I believe. I got them at 5, just a little ahead. They pretty much explained almost everything for me. Jalen Mildew, whatever. I think he's a really good quarterback. I think he's finally found his touch towards the end of the season, and I think he got his confidence back. And I think going into next year, he's going to be a lot better. And I think he's developed a lot for sure. They got, I mean, just this whole team. They're always a really good team. Look up and down, they're a really good team. Get these trolls out of my ear. Their defense is what really scares me. They got a really good DB room. Malachi Moore, Elijah May, and Keon Sabb. Keon Sabb coming in from Michigan. Didn't play a whole lot. He got a few reps at Michigan, but we'll see how he does over here at Bama. It's different being over in the SEC from the Big Ten, so we'll see how he adapts to that. But yeah, they got a lot returning, a lot of new guys in the transfer portal, and I think they're going to be just fine.
Okay. My number 5 team going back down into the SEC, and we will go with the Ole Miss Rebels. And it looks like Maddyx also had the Ole Miss Rebels at 5 based on the reaction.
Same top 10.
Anyways, Jackson Dart, I'm going to leave a little bit of talking for him, so I'm not going to say too much. Jackson Dart, obviously, star quarterback. We know what he's made of. Now it's just, can he take that extra step to push his team over the top? Very good quarterback last year. He just has to get the little extra juice. Lane Kiffin has to get the little extra bit out of him. And I think if he does that, which I do think he will, it'll push his team over the top. Also, they have really good transfers coming in. Notable names: Walter Nolan, Texas A&M transfer, D lineman there, former 5-star recruit, top 5 recruit. I think he was top 3, but I'm not certain, on 247. Princely from Florida. I don't know how to say his last name, so I'm just going to avoid it. He's also a very solid player. Sometimes there is a lack of effort per se, but maybe Lane Kiffin can,
He was also at Florida, so
maybe Lane Kiffin can get that effort out of him. Ulysses Bentley obviously will replace Quinshon Judkins as the starting running back, at least we assume. And Trey Harris in a receiver. He is their bona fide star player outside of Jackson Dart. He is his biggest target, and I'm sure he will look to go to him a lot. Another underrated piece that they have, tight end Caden Prescorn. He was huge in that bowl game last year against Penn State. And really, it's just, can the transfers that are coming in make as big of an impact as fans and many people around the college football world are expecting them to?
5 for me, like I already said, is going to be Ole Miss. I agree with Dawson for the 5th time today. Like we've all said, a stud at quarterback, Jackson Dart. Bentley replacing Judkins, as we expect. 6th-year running back. He's a veteran. 6th-year, wild. And 2 wins in the portal here for them. Well, they have a lot of wins, but on the offensive line, they ended up getting 2 Washington offensive linemen, Calipo at left guard and Bilu at right guard. And then they got Walter Nolan. But for me, a little thing I like I said earlier, they have 6 transfers projected to start on the defense. That can be a really good thing, and that can also be, who knows? Because being in the transfer, they might have not played that much at their other school, but I mean, I think they're going to be good. They got to adjust to the SEC depending on who they are. But Dawson said most stuff I was going to say. But we agree again. 5 Ole Miss. Luke, number 4. Who you got?
Starting off my top 4, someone who lost a very crucial piece to the team, but got a really good replacement. I'm going with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Lost Nick Saban, their coach
Yeah.
for forever, that has led them to being one of the best teams ever in college football. Um, you lost him, but then you get Kalen DeBoer, which he's no Nick Saban, but he's still a great head coach. You got Jalen Milrow, who, a lot of people like to just. I hear some people say that he's just a good runner and can't throw the ball all too well. But I mean, we saw against Auburn the mill throw. He proved he can throw the football. 4th and 31. I mean, play of the season, probably. Um, then you also got some decent running backs. Always at Alabama, you're gonna have a solid SEC defense. You're gonna have a good team this year. If I were an Alabama fan, I'd be really excited for this season. Coming off of being the SEC champions, beating Georgia, and knocking them out of the playoffs. Almost could have went to the national championship game, but just couldn't get the job done against the Wolverines. And um, I mean, that's not the way they wanted their season to end, but it's a sign that this team is going to come back and they're going to be ready to play, and they are going to be one of the better teams in college football. Alabama, number 4.
This is where it starts to get pretty tough for me, at least. Number 4, Quack Attack. I got the Oregon Ducks at number 4. I think this team is just as good as it looks on paper. They got Dylan Gabriel coming in, great quarterback. They got really good running back room, Jordan James, Jaden Lamar, Lemur Lamar. I don't know how you say that name. I'm pretty sure it's Lemur Lamar. But they got a really good receiving core. They got Tez Johnson, Trayshawn Holden, Jeremiah McClellan, Justice Lowe. Really good receiving core. This offense is very explosive. They have a really good offensive line to go along with that. So I think their offense is going to be insane. I think they're going to do just fine in the Big Ten, but it's a different atmosphere. So we will see. Their defense on paper also looks really good. They got some really good studs on the defensive line. They have a really, really huge linebacker core, about 10 to 15 linebackers on their roster. But we'll see how they play. Oregon at 4.
All right, at number 4, we've got the Texas Longhorns. They've got some good transfers coming in, along with a veteran quarterback in Quinn Ewers. They got Silas Bolden, Trey Moore. He's on the defensive side of the ball. They've got Matthew Golden. He is also a receiver and a transfer that I think many people are forgetting about in this offseason. They've got Isaiah Bond. Golden came from Houston, Bolden came from Oregon State, and Isaiah Bond obviously departed from Alabama with the retirement of Nick Saban. The big thing with them is they've got to replace now their running back, CJ Baxter, who went down with a season-ending injury. Last year, their running back was Jonathan Brooks, who also went down with a season-ending injury during the regular season. So CJ Baxter kind of stepped into that role along with Jaden Blue, who I think is going to be their main RB1 now. Can they get that type of production that they got out of Jonathan Brooks and CJ Baxter last year? Can they get that out of Jaden Blue? And obviously, we are pretty certain the receivers will be good. Quinn Ewers, veteran quarterback, former 5-star, perfect recruit. He's been solid throughout college. I wouldn't say he's been anything spectacular, but he's been very good and a very above average quarterback. And that's my number 4.
All right. My number 4 team came down to 2 teams. We can probably guess who they are, but for me, my number 4 is Oregon. Dylan Gabriel, veteran quarterback, transfers in. They got Stewart from Texas A&M, Tez Johnson back again, Dan Lanning. I think he's going to get the defense right this year. They were, not a bad defense last year, but they gave up some points. And I think he can get the defense right coming from Georgia. Jabbar Muhammad from Washington is at corner. Cam Alexander at corner from UTSA. Four-star transfer Peyton Woodyard at safety from Alabama. And 5 transfer starters projected for Oregon. That's a good bit, but they're all pretty highly ranked transfers. They had a really good transfer portal class. And right now they're having a really good recruiting class. I know that doesn't really correlate, but Oregon is getting up on the national stage. And that unlimited NIL is definitely helping.
Number 3, I'm gonna go with Ohio State here. Getting a lot of transfers here. Quinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson in the backfield is gonna be deadly. Then you got Will Howard coming in from Kansas State. Very solid quarterback. I don't think he's as good as people say he is. He's good, but
that good.
he's not as good as a lot of people are hyping him up as. Yeah, receiving core is always going to be good. So, wouldn't be surprised if teams are still getting dominated in the air by Ohio State. So I got them at number 3.
My number 3, I got the Longhorns. Pretty much self-explanatory. This team's really good. Quinn Ewers has a chance to show out, maybe even win Heisman this year. Who knows? I think he's gonna definitely be in the race for sure. Definitely be up there. Was he in the race last year? He had a good season last year. I'm not really for sure, but offense is really explosive. Like Philly said, it does hurt them with C.J. Baxter being out, but they have other options on this team, and I think they're gonna be really good. I think they're gonna be really good. They're a team that has a really strong defense, and they come in very aggressive, and I think they have a really good run defense. So, got the Longhorns at number 3.
All right, my number 3 team, I've got the Oregon Ducks. Obviously, with veteran presence, good receiving core. Dylan Gabriel, I believe this is his 6th season in college football. He has played at Oklahoma previously as well as UCF. He was at UCF in kind of the end of their dominant days as a group of 5 program, obviously whenever they were going undefeated and making big bowl games, but he's matured a lot as a quarterback, and that happens with age, and he has aged quite a bit in college football, very similar to Bo Nix last year. Both of those quarterbacks are kind of veteran presences in the sport of college football. At the running back, they got Jordan James. Receivers, obviously, Tez Johnson, Jurion Dickey. Evan Stewart came in from Texas A&M. He is a huge transfer they added. Their offensive line is very good also. A good defense as well as great secondary. Jabbar Muhammad in there. He is kind of their best corner, I do believe. Top 10 in college football corner-wise. And Dan Lanning, very solid head coach. And Oregon looks to repeat success from last year.
All right, for my number 3, I'm going to go with Texas. There's something about Texas that makes me want to put them above Oregon. I just think that being the SEC type of team, I just think I want to put Texas above Oregon. We've all pretty much gone over it, but I like to look at some other things. Wide receiver 2, they got, or not like in one of their wide receivers, they got Golden from Houston, and they got Bolden from Oregon State, both transferring in. So all 3 of their projected starting wide receivers are transfers, also Isaiah Bond. Like they said, Trey Moore, he had 14 sacks last season with UTSA. Quinn Ewers trying to be the Heisman winner. And they have their left tackle, left guard, center, and right guard all return from last year as starters. And their right tackle was a backup for them last year. So all 5 of their starters, not transfers, just coming back. Andrew Makuba from Clemson last year, the number 5 ranked safety in the transfer portal, and he's back. Or now he's transferred from Clemson to Texas. So that's your safety. And now Luke's going to go with his number 2 team, and then he's going to go with his number 1 team. Then Quentin, then Dawson, then me. So we're going to do 2 and 1 at the same time. And we're going to try to do this pretty quickly because we don't want these mics to die.
All right, so my number 2 team is going to be the Oregon Ducks. high-powered offense. You got Dylan Gabriel coming in, already got a solid receiving core, and then you got the running back room, really good running back room. I feel like the running backs, kind of get overlooked because Oregon's more of a, kind of like a throw it deep a lot type of offense. Um, Defensively, Oregon is going to be a good team, and they will they meet the Big Ten standard of defense? Probably. Um, but yeah, Oregon at number 2, and then my number 1 team, my preseason number 1 team is going to be the Georgia Bulldogs. Had a chance to three-peat last year, but lost in the SEC title, which would end up knocking them out of the playoffs, and they ended up killing Florida State. But this team is gonna be back, and they're gonna be ready to play. Losing some pieces, but making up for what they lost. Um, I feel like this Georgia team is a really good team and is a team of all time. And that's all. Georgia number 1, Oregon number 2.
All right, I'm gonna do number 2 first. I feel like you can go either way with these two teams right now, but I feel like it's wrong to not put this team at number 1. So number 2, I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm gonna have the Buckeyes at the number 1. I'll come back to them. Let me talk about Georgia for a sec. Carson Beck, great quarterback. I think this team honestly is probably going to end up in the national championship. This team is as good as it gets. Trevor Etienne, they're stacked everywhere. Great defensive line, great offensive line. This team is just really good, and they are very well coached. Very, very well coached. And like I said, I think this team will end up back in the national championship again this year. Which leaves me with my number 1, our rivals, the Ohio State Buckeyes. But looking at this roster, there's no way you don't put them at number 1. I mean, looking at this roster, this team is amazing. Absolutely amazing. You can pretty much rock with any quarterback you want. You got about 4 or 5 of them. You got Spinshawn Judkins and Travion Henderson, two of the best running backs in college football, up there with them. You got Emeka Egbuka, who is annoying to play against. Other receivers who is going to be insane. Jeremiah Smith. I mean, this team just up and down is absolutely insane. You got Caleb Downs who came in. You got all these great guys. Tyleek Williams is an absolute stud. He's annoying in college football, 25. And yeah, I got the Buckeyes at number 1, and that's my top 10 list.
All right, my number 2 team, I have the Ohio State Buckeyes. I do think their roster is very good, but again, another thing that I've been talking about this whole episode, a good bit of transfers. Not nearly as much as a team like Ole Miss or Texas, or even Alabama, but still a good bit that will come in and try and make an impact. Now we have to see if they can gel together as a team. Have to build up that culture that Ohio State has been known to have. Receivers, they're never concerned about that. They're always recruiting 4 or 5-star receivers year in, year out. Seems like every single year they land at least one 5-star receiver. And if they don't, they land a very high 4-star. It's just a thing Ohio State's going to do. They're going to get big recruits. And Will Howard, the quarterback situation, not very high, particularly on Will Howard or any of the quarterbacks for this season. Not saying that I don't think Julian Sayin or Air Nolan or heck, even Lincoln Keenholz can be a good quarterback in the future. I'm just saying I don't think that they have an elite quarterback this year. Like, I would put Kyle McCord over Will Howard. And running backs, obviously, we know they're good. Travion Henderson, been playing for 3 years since he was a freshman. Quentin Judkins, been playing since he was a freshman, just not with Ohio State. Corners, they like to call themselves best in America. They are kind of returning to that state as they've been in the past. Very solid cornerback room, D-line amazing, O-line amazing, good linebackers, very good team overall. Number 1 team, I have the Georgia Bulldogs. I feel like this is kind of the consensus number 1. Carson Beck, who I think is probably the Heisman favorite to start off the season. And running back Trevor Etienne transferring in from Florida, which kind of weird, transferring from a rival to a rival. Not really sure I'm a fan of that. But receivers, very underrated receiver room. London Humphreys, Ra Thomas recently kicked off the team, as that does cause them to lose depth there. Um, but a very solid corner room as well. And I mean, it's Georgia. You know they're going to have a good roster, especially same as Ohio State. Both teams always going to have loaded rosters. So that's kind of what you expect out of them and the coaches to get good recruits. But that is my number one team. And I'll pass it off to Maddyx.
I'm not gonna lie, I was really close in this top two. Before I made it, I was thinking of putting Georgia at 1, but then something got to me and I put Ohio State at 1. So Georgia, they have 12 returning starters. They have Carson Beck, Etienne. They got Oscar Delp at tight end, one of the 2 best tight ends in the country. You can think of who number 1 is. They have some very good receivers. They always have a great defense, and they are my number 2 team. Ohio State, like Michigan, the real question mark quarterback. Will Howard, the projected starter, is coming in from Kansas State. I don't think he's going to be like a insane, like, I don't think he's CJ Stroud or Justin Fields, but I think he is uh, a good enough quarterback for us to be in contention for the national championship. He has that running ability that a lot of Ohio State fans have been looking for. Then we got Quentin Judkins, Trayvon Henderson at running back. You got Jeremiah Smith, the star freshman, he will start this year. They have Carnell Tate looking to make an impact in his junior season. They have Emeka Egbuka back again for his senior year, looking to be back to his sophomore self, and he has a shot to have the most receptions and receiving yards in Ohio State history, and that is absolutely insane with the receivers that Ohio State has produced. At tight end, G. Scott back again, Jelani Thurman looking to make an impact. Most of the O-line's back, Seth McLaughlin coming in to play center. Defense, literally everybody is back pretty much. JTT at DN, Jack Sawyer at DN, Tyleek at D tackle. They got corner. We got Igbinosun. We got Denzel Burke, both back. Got Caleb Downs coming in from Bama. Got Lathan back. Jordan Hancock back. Linebacker, Sonny Styles. I think he's going to make an impact this year. Speedster at linebacker, moving down from safety to linebacker. Cody Simon starting finally in his senior season. And that's pretty much the entire roster of Ohio State. This is like one of the only times I've known the whole roster because it's so easy to know because everybody's back. Here's what I have to say before I hand the mic away, before we do the random teams. People say Ohio State's always overrated and they're not going to win. But for this season, I think it's different because in the years past, you're kind of predicting. You're predicting Ohio State's the number 1 team. Ohio State has brought back everybody. I think if you look at last year, you look at how they were with even some of those losses they had or whatever, I think they're the number 1 team. I think with the roster they have, they can be the number 1, number 2 team, and it's not really predicting it. I think they are. And they should live up to that. If not, some things might have to change in the coaching staff. That's for a later date. But my number 1 team is Ohio State, number 2, Georgia. That's our top 10 teams. Now we will be spinning the wheel for our random record prediction. All right. We're back for the random record prediction. I'll go first. Luke, spin the dang wheel. Spin the dang wheel. Are we serious?
It's not.
Oh, brother.
Well, your ringer's not on.
Yes, it is.
Nothing happened. All right, so who did I get?
FAU.
FAU. All right. Florida Atlantic.
Former Marshall quarterback Cam Fancher.
Oh, that don't help me with my record prediction. FAU football schedule. All right, so we're going to start it off with a little Michigan State game. Loss. Army. Win. FIU, win. Philly, you're supposed to be keeping track of this. It's 2-1. UConn, win. Wagner, win. North Texas, win. South Florida, loss. East Carolina, win. Temple, win. Charlotte, win. Tulsa, win.
Really?
9-4? 9-3. I was about to say, why are they playing 4 games? No Hawaii rule this time. 9-3 for the FAUers.
All right, I'm gonna take over here. Luke, spin that wheel.
The sound ain't working.
That's okay. We got Troy.
All right, let me pull up their schedule. for
Okay,
you.
this is an interesting team. They just lost their head coach this offseason,
They did.
but they also got Tulane's head coach.
All right, Luke, here's Troy's schedule.
Wait, it's him.
All right. We got Troy versus Nevada. They beat Nevada. Lose to Memphis. Lose to Iowa. Beat Florida A&M. Beat ULM. Tough game against Texas State. I'm going to say lost to Texas State. Beat South Alabama. Beat Arkansas State. Beat Coastal. Beat Georgia Southern.
Not beating Coastal.
Beat Louisiana. And beat Southern Miss.
They're not beating
My
Southern
math
Miss
didn't
or
math.
Coastal. They're not beating Southern Miss.
I think that was
We'll add it up and we'll show it up on screen.
All right,
for you
so we
guys
got
watching.
losses to Memphis, Iowa, Texas State.
It'll show up on the
So
screen.
that
It'll show
is
up on the screen.
9-3 for the Troy Trojans. That is my record prediction. All right, who am I passing it off to? Quentin?
I'll go. Let's see it. Oh.
Not yet.
Bro, spin it. We get
San Jose State.
San Jose State. Interesting. Let me pull up their schedule. I don't think I've ever watched a San Jose State game in
have.
my life. Anyways, starting off the year against Sacramento State, I got them taking the dub. I got them dropping week 2 to Air Force. It's interesting, I know. I got them taking the dub against Kennesaw State. They're taking an L against Washington State, a W against Nevada, a W against Colorado State, a W against Washington, Fresno State. I'm going to have them taking the dub. They're going to get blown out by Oregon State. Got them. They'll lose to Boise State, win against UNLV, and win to Stanford. So what is that?
8-4.
8-4, 7-5, something like that. Yeah, 8-4. Gotcha.
All right.
Hold on. Did you have them beating Washington? Is that what I heard?
No, Washington State.
Oh, okay,
Not
okay.
Washington. They're not beating
Now it is
Washington.
Luke's turn to spin that wheel.
Who'd you get?
Coastal Carolina. Okay, starting off, win against Jacksonville State. Win versus W and M. Have no clue what the heck that is.
William and Mary.
William and Mary. Win. Temple. Win. Virginia. Win. Old Dominion. Win.
Okay.
James Madison. Loss. Louisiana. Loss. Coastal Carolina. Or what? Troy. Win. Appalachian State. Loss. Marshall. Win. Georgia Southern. Win. Georgia State. Loss.
8-4 for Coastal Carolina is Luke's record prediction, and that will wrap up episode 26 of the Divided Friendship Podcast. We thank you guys for listening, and we appreciate you guys for listening, and we will see you on the next one.
Adios.